How would it feel to have a thriving fitness business and have the freedom to enjoy life at the fullest? Well, that is exactly what the Trainer Revenue Multiplier Show is going to give you. My name is Mathew Park. This is Jaime Filer.
Hey guys.
And we are here to serve.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Trainer Revenue Multiplier Podcast. My name is Jaime Filer, and I am joined by probably one of my favorite humans that I really don't get to spend enough time with, but have had the pleasure of coaching. Sarah Fucinari from Team FitWithMe. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you. We were just talking about the weather in Arizona versus Florida versus the rest of the world. Do you get a lot of traveling in with your business because you're mostly online?
I try my very best not to travel because pre-coaching, I was a national rep for like 8 years. So I was on airplanes like every single week. So I don't miss that life. I don't miss I don't miss a travel scale or packing my food or doing any of that stuff, finding random gyms. I am like so happy to be in my home with my husband and my dogs. Even though it is fucking cold.
Funny,
Ooh, am I allowed to curse on your podcast?
I'm going to try talking over you. I'm sure we can take it out. Anyway.
Am I allowed to curse on your podcast?
I mean, we'll take it out. We'll edit it if needed. Let's try to keep the F-bombs to a minimum. It's funny.
I'll clean it up.
Most people, they want to get into online coaching and they want the financial freedom so that they can travel. And you're like, nah, give me the financial freedom so I can stay home.
Give me financial freedom for like a fun car and vacations. I'm down for vacations.
Yeah.
But you're on the road like all the time, aren't you?
I am, because I love it. If my wife would be okay with us doing van life, I would have done it years ago. 100%. Yeah.
I just did it for so long. And it's different when you're traveling for like work versus pleasure too, I suppose. And traveling with your wife, I'm sure, is a different dynamic because I was traveling solo when I was on the road.
I know, not as fun, a little more lonely. So let's talk about it, because you haven't been a coach your whole life, right? You even said it, you were a sales rep before, covering quite the territory. How did you get in to personal training in the first place?
Well, so you know what's funny is that originally I was in the horse business, and that's like what I grew up doing, and that was the dream. And I had a successful horse business in my early 20s. But then the irony here is that I wanted a life outside of my job, so I went into pharma so I could have weekends.
Okay.
Funny how that comes full circle. But my point in bringing that up is that my favorite part of being in the horse business is being a teacher. And that's so much of what I do in the coaching side. And that's really where I shine, even more so than when I was a writer. My talent really always lied in the teaching side. And so honestly, I became a coach just because I became obsessed with it. I struggled forever. I tried everything that there was to try. I even went to the extreme of having weight loss surgery. It was sold to me as that, this is the last thing you're going to try. You're going to have the surgery. You're never going to die again. It's going to fix your PCOS. You're not going to be insulin resistant anymore. This is the cure. Well, you can imagine how disappointed I was when it wasn't. And I found myself eating 800 calories a day, exercising for 2 hours a day, and looking worse and feeling worse. And so I was lucky enough that I found an awesome coach, which, as you know, is hard to find, especially out of the gate. I hired Jason Theobald to help me. And I thought he was going to teach me how to eat less and work out harder. And he was like, we're going to do something a little different here. And he ran my labs. I had always been told my labs are fine until a doctor, didn't even run the correct ones to see if I was fine. And we did a deep dive into my internal health, and he taught me how to care for my body. And that is the thing that changed my life. And so I became obsessed with learning more. And then telling anybody that would listen, honestly. And then it was like, I should start charging people. Yeah. It's like anybody that wants to learn this cool stuff. And then it was like, I should start charging people. And then it was like, well, I can't do this and stay with my corporate job. So I took the leap. Actually like end of 2020, I think that's when I went full-time coaching.
Yep.
And I haven't looked back since. It's the best gig there is, as you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So did you go straight from preaching the gospel to starting your own coaching business? Did you work under someone for a period of time? What was that transition like to full entrepreneurship?
So I don't know. I think that I have a unique story because my growth was like truly organic, and that most of my mentoring came from like being a client of Jason's and then started doing classes with Jason. And then I started picking up other like mentors along the way. And I'm really
Yeah.
into continuing my education on all fronts. And most of my investment has been in the science side of the education. And so
Yeah.
always, and as much as like certifications are great, I think that's the least interesting thing about what I can do. I think that it's the real world knowledge and then the add-on education and really diving into like the functional stuff and the hybrid stuff and all of that. And I became like super into that. But what was different with finding you guys and finding Matt is it was the first time, or maybe the second time. I had worked with Jeff Black for a period of time in the beginning,
Yeah.
where I was really investing in my education on the business side, which honestly is something that interests me the least. But through kind of finding you guys, I saw the value in it. Now I'm a little bit more savvy in that department.
I love it. So let's talk about your growth. Tell me how you started, right? Was it through a database, referrals, social media? When we say you were telling everyone who would listen, where did you find who would listen?
How would it feel to have a thriving fitness business and have the freedom to enjoy life at the fullest? Well, that is exactly what the Trainer Revenue Multiplier Show is going to give you. My name is Matt.
We're going to cut that out. Go ahead. How did you find who would listen?
So when I decided to have weight loss surgery, I started doing research and like found a lot of like, I want to say like helpful info, but that not knowing what I know now wasn't so helpful, on Instagram. And so I started a page for weight loss surgery and I was like a secret, like I was just like a viewer. I was not like I was just a consumer, I should say, right? I wasn't a participant. But like in the beginning, the way the weight loss surgery community was is that there weren't a lot of resources. You just like find other people who had surgery, be like, what's working for you? What's working for you? So through that, I kind of built out like a network, and then I got a little bit less shy, and it was a long time before I even put my face on Instagram. Like it really was because I was just there to like, creep around. But then from there, I started developing relationships within the weight loss surgery community. And that's really kind of like where my network started to build out. And even now, like years later, I'm 100% referral based. I really don't do any marketing. I post things and content, but I don't like do ads or anything like that. Like everybody comes from somebody, which is really cool. I think probably unique, but also a really cool way to build out the business.
Yeah, for sure. Because it just means that you're doing an incredible job at serving and impacting and helping and finding solutions.
Well, thanks.
Yeah. Wow.
And it is funny, like this past year, I'll tell you, and even like I reflect, I'm not like a resolutioner, but I am definitely a reflector. I definitely have lost the imposter syndrome in the past year where I'm like confident in what I'm doing. And that's like such a fun play. And I'm like, did you have that moment where you kind of were like, I'm sure of myself now. I know that I can do like right by these people.
The first time someone ever said, my friend told me you were the authority on mental health and physical health. And I was like,
that's awesome. When was that?
Okay. Maybe late 2021, right before last year. Yeah, for sure. So as soon as someone like, when I hear you're the guy for, right? That's what you want. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, you're so right.
So you mentioned
and it's funny.
Go ahead.
Well, it's funny for me. I was like, I've always been so like, I didn't want to be pigeonholed in just the bariatric space because like even though I had surgery, I don't think that that's why I've been successful in the grand scheme of things. And I don't, it's really not a part of my identity. And a lot of times people are surprised to hear that I've had like somebody will hire me that's had surgery because one of their friends that had surgery hired me. And they'll be surprised when they hear that. And I'm like, but that's not why I'm successful. And I mean, listen, those fast results are like motivating, but it's not, you have to learn the lifestyle. And that's really where the success has been found,
So that was going to be my next question is what makes Team FitWithMe unique? What is your, right? Like what separates you that you've been able to grow so much, especially due to referrals?
I mean, the program works. The proof is in the progress. I mean, but that's the truth. I'm blessed that I have clients that have an awesome work ethic, and that's a piece of the puzzle. But most people that come to me have chronically dieted, and anybody that's had weight loss surgery has chronically dieted. That's how you end up there. You have to do it to qualify for surgery, honestly. But anything that we've ever tried has always been about depriving ourselves, taking things away from our life, taking away from our health, beating the crap out of our bodies and our minds. And I do something different. And I say, if we do it right, we only have to do it once. And though it might feel longer, because the time aspect is the hardest part. If you do it right and you invest the time, you get to you actually get to hit your goal, and then you get to go worry about other stuff. And so that internal health piece and that really loving your body and creating a lifestyle piece of the puzzle, that's what changed my life, honestly.
Yeah. And it's such a different paradigm than we typically hear in the weight loss space, where quick fixes are the go-to. But it's also why people have issues chronically dieting, yo-yo dieting, and disordered eating for their entire lives. For sure.
Well, I even said earlier that in the bariatric community that we were originally just that's how I started my page, just trying to find other people that had it and be like, what's going on in your, what are you doing? What are you eating?
Yeah.
And now almost 7 years later, there is an abundance of resources, but they're really low quality. And there are people that, and I have such a bone to pick with this. There are people that have had the surgery and have not even been successful themselves, saying, I am the source. And how dare you? How dare you? And it's just so I'm hoping in the next 7 years that will all come out in the wash, and that the quality of resources will improve as we keep spreading education, from all of our platforms here.
Sure. Isn't it ironic that the people who haven't done it have more confidence, but you and I struggle with our imposter syndrome, even though we've both gone through what we needed to serve the audiences? Why can't we have confidences of the actual imposters?
Oh, you have such a good point there. And it really clearly, it really grinds my gears, because it's this is serious. You can really hurt people by you're hurting people. This isn't just this isn't to be taken lightly. I really feel strongly about that. And I really feel strongly about anybody can learn from a book. Anybody can learn abstract things, or even, the science theories, but to actually learn how to apply it to your own life and teach other people how to do it. That's how you become a great coach, right?
Yes. Agreed. So let's talk learning, teaching, and TRM. When you came to us, what were your biggest challenges at the time? What did you want?
So honestly, I was in a spot where, so I'd been working with Jeff Black on business coaching for a while. And then, and it was great. No complaints there, but I was looking into a ridiculously expensive program. And the reason that I was looking into it is because I had a lot of humans. I needed to scale my back end and my processes and get organized. And I think I'm probably an unusual case where I had a lot of bodies coming through the door, and I wanted to make sure I was still maximizing the client experience and doing all the things that I needed to do to make sure that my products remained really clean. And so I was considering hiring these. Oh my gosh, it was a stupid amount of money. It was a stupid amount of money, and it was a crazy stuff. And Jeff was like, you need to just talk to Matt. Just talk to my friend Matt, just figure it out. And so I talked to Matt for, I don't know, maybe an hour. And I was like, Matt, I have no interest in hiring you. And we talked for a little while. And then, and I'm the kind of person that I need to step away for a minute. And ultimately I was like, you know what? I think this is the right approach for me.
Wow.
It wasn't super stupid expensive, but it also wasn't some generic, we're going to guarantee you hit this and this. It was it seemed a little bit more real.
Yeah, for sure. So would you say that your biggest problem was learning to scale and handle volume while subsequently not reducing value?
Yes. And also trying to implement, as we can loop back to my horse problems, having some sort of life outside of my job.
Yeah. Yep.
And so Matt has definitely helped me with that. Matt is like, when are you planning a vacation? Get a vacation on the books right now. I know how much money you made this month. I know you can afford a vacation. He does that to me.
I know, that's the good news. Bad news about having a business coach, this freaking accountability, right?
He totally does that to me. He's like, when's your next trip? What do you do? Are you spending any time with your husband this week? He does that. But even when I was working with Jeff Black, he was always like, you're going to burn yourself out if you're not careful here. So that, as silly and small as that seems, that I mean, it's going to be the trick to having some longevity in the space, I think.
Yeah, right. Not burning out. So now tell me about your team. You have a team.
I do have a team, and we run ours
Yeah.
in, I think, a different way. You would probably know better than I do, but I think that we do things a little bit unique here. So we call ourselves like the concierge coaching service. And with that, you have a crew of experts at your fingertips. So I serve as the head coach. I have two assistant coaches who are also both certified nutritionists, have also been successful in their own journeys, one of which has also had weight loss surgery, so we can cater to those clients as well. I have two personal trainers. We do offer one-on-one personal training via Zoom as well. And then we also have a mindset coach who specializes in food relationship coaching. So when somebody signs up, they get to work with the whole crew, which is really cool.
And do you think that's been one of the main contributors to your success, is that there's right, if someone wants out, or you feel like someone isn't as successful as they could be, you could attack it from one of 4 different angles, whether it's mindset, accountability, one-to-one nutrition, right?
Oh, totally. Jamie, I got to tell you, there was a period of time that I would sell my program in pieces. Like somebody would be like, I just want to do the nutrition coaching. I don't want to do the strength training. And then they'd like go to, they would be, needing to reverse diet, and they'd be going to fucking Orange Theory. And I would be like, you know what? It's, if you're going to, and people still will ask me that sometimes, I'm just interested in this part. And I'm like, listen, the program is done. It works best if it's done comprehensively. And if you're about to pay me a couple of thousands of dollars, and you're not going to go all in, then don't. Like, I want you to be successful. I want you to get the most out of this program. And so I totally think there's value to that. And it's also like, I don't have to serve as like a jack of all trades, master of none. I bring in a master of every single department.
So my next question would be, that can't be cheap. So how did you, once you realized there was a need on your part, not necessarily for the clients, but like you knew you wanted other masters working alongside you, what was the turning point for you to say, you know what, I'm going to make the financial investment in these professionals, because if I build it, they will come?
Honestly, I don't have like a defining like moment that I was like, oh, this is what we need to do. It all just happened so organically. And it's like funny because most of my employees were like hired within that, they were clients and they became obsessed, and then they just wanted to help, and they were helping like with other things. But then like Jess, who is like my right-hand woman, she is like, just so, we call her the ESA, the emotional support animal. She is so wonderful at connecting with clients. She's a mom too, which a lot. So like everything's kind of like come from a need. I was seeing the low quality of personal training and strength training programming. And my mom has been a trainer for over 40 years and is as elite as they come. And I said, Mom, you want to come work for me? And so it's like kind of, it just happened like out of a need. And then as far as the cost of it, I'm really not more expensive than anybody. I think I'm on the low end of the range, and I keep my pricing low for a reason. I want people to be able to put the amount of time into this program to have a full transformation. I don't want somebody to at the end of 3 months say, I can't afford to do this and I want to do that. Like I have a friend who he charges $1,000 a month. Most people can't sustain that for very long. So I've set up a structure where, people can stay. I have many gals. I have a handful on my team right now that have lost over 100 pounds. That's not happening in 3 months. Like, I want them to stay. You know what I mean? Like, do you have that, like that situation where you're just like, I want to set it up where you can really get the full experience, start to finish. We can transition you out. You can go live your life.
I was literally just going to say, even if it's a higher front end followed by a lower back end into a continuity, you know what? I still want you part of the community. I still want you in the Facebook group. You want access to Trainerize, done. And then you give them like a super low ticket. I would rather that than honestly, than have 10 people at $1,000 a month. 100%.
Totally. And as much as I always welcome people back, but people come back for tune-ups and things, I love more than anything when I talk to somebody a year afterwards and they're like, I'm still living the lifestyle, doing all the things because I spent enough time with the team. And I stayed with Jason for 4 years. I don't know if I needed to stay with him for 4 years. But I literally was like, in my mind, I was like, I just keep him on retainer. I'm just paying him every month. I didn't even check in all the time. It was like, but if I needed to, I would. And if I had a question, you know what I mean? Like, it was like, he was like my general counsel. I just paid him.
Yeah. I get that. So what do you think? I mean, cause you almost doubled, right? You cleared just under $500,000 in 2022,
We
which was
did.
about double what you made in 2021. How did you grow that much in 365 days?
I think just like I think the biggest thing that I've started doing, I'm not a woman that is scared of change, and I have like gone and dug up the back end a lot of times. And pretty much like every July and December, I don't take clients the last 2 weeks of December because I just don't think it's a productive time to start. And so I take those times. In July, there's usually a lull around the 4th of July to like go and like make sure everything is really clean and go through like my onboarding pipe through the engine and like do all of those things. Right. And so I think that like doing that at intervals really helps. But then I think not doing anything, like just getting really good at what I already do, putting more time and repetition behind it. Because I think that there was a period of time that I was making a lot of changes and it was like, I didn't put enough time behind it to see if those changes were doing anything, or to put enough time behind it to get good at those changes.
Yes. Yeah. And I heard that if you're not as successful as you want to be, it's one of two problems. You aren't doing the right thing, or you've been doing the right thing, but not long enough. And that's it. Right.
Well, and like, even when it comes to this health and fitness thing, like we all think that we are going to sign up and we are just going to do the damn thing. We're going to flip that light switch and this is who I am now. But I think that something that's really missing is understanding that this lifestyle is a skill. And if you wanted to learn any skill, it would come with lots of practice and lots of repetition and lots of suckage sometimes before you got good at it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So what would you say? I mean, I think that's an amazing piece of advice. And guys, you could even replay this and pick and choose. She said like 4 different things that you could take away and implement immediately, but taking a break and reevaluating your systems at least twice a year as though you were one of your own clients is brilliant, Sarah. What advice would you give to an entrepreneur who has a few clients, right? We're not talking about just a beginner, but like someone getting started who's ultra passionate, but isn't necessarily business savvy yet.
Oh, well, I think that honestly, there are things that you want to invest in and get good at. But then there are things that you have maybe a lower level of interest in, or maybe you're not as talented in, or whatever the reason, or maybe you don't want to make the time for it. Maybe it's not a priority. And those things you have to hire other people to do. You just do. You just have to. It's if you want to grow. I said in the beginning, and maybe it wasn't something I was supposed to say on this podcast, that I had very little interest in business coaching, but I was like seeing a need for it. It was something that I was not excelling at. So I brought in some help. Like I think that that's really important. And then you can really focus on the shit that you do want. Like, you don't have that figure it out time for something you're not all that interested in either. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So find your deficits and don't be scared to ask for help if it's something that's not your forte.
You put that together so nicely. Thank you for wrapping that up in a bow.
Because it's simple, but not easy. Right?
Well, totally. And I find like, I'm such a, I'll do it all myself. Like, independent woman, hear me roar. And even this past couple of weeks ago, I was like, I'm going to redo my onboarding pipeline. And I was like, okay, I can totally do this. Laurent showed me the ropes through this. I've got some Loom videos. I can do the automations. And then I started doing it and I was like, why the fuck? Oh, sorry. I was like, why the heck am I doing this right now? And so I messaged Laurent and I was like, how much could this possibly cost? This is going to take me 2 weeks and it's going to take you 3 hours. And he was like, let me just do it for you. But those still, now I have those moments because I am so like, well, I can do it myself. I can figure it out.
Again, another one of those things that's like, if something requires a solution, typically it's one of 2 answers. Do you throw time at the problem or do you throw money at it? If you're a beginner trainer, right? So,
it's so true. It's so true.
Yeah,
but don't expect to make money. This is not supposed to, like, this is not something, I know we all want to make money and it's nice, but the money comes on the flip side. And like, I mean, I had the luxury of this just being like a passion thing and then it just being like a side hustle. I didn't think it was ever going to turn into a full-time thing, let alone like an awesome full-time thing. But it's not because I was chasing money. Ever has that been a thing.
Yeah. Well, because those are typically the trainers that burn out or don't deliver great service because their people are dollar signs, not people.
Right. And look at what we're doing here. I mean, like, we're not managing a hedge fund, like we're helping people. This is not, I mean, that's what we're supposed to be doing. And I think that that's like a big thing that's, as much as I think that there's value in finding the right nutrition coach, business coach, whatever coach, finding the wrong one it can be just as detrimental.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Especially if you're just getting started and you don't know what you don't know. I agree.
Well, yeah. And if you look at like all these, like these 10K programs and these, like these guarantees, I wanted that those people that I almost hired when they say, we're going to guarantee that this is going to happen in this amount of time, or we'll return your money. And I said, okay, can I have that in writing? And they said, oh no, we're not going to put that in writing. And I'm like, oh, okay. And they said, you should just trust me. And that's when I was like, red flag.
Cool. Yeah. Wow. Well, okay. So that is also great advice. Do your due diligence when hire a business coach. But really, if you're listening to this podcast, you know who to hire. Love it.
Yeah, you're probably in the right place.
Sarah, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for taking a break. I appreciate you.
Yeah, it was good to see you.
You too. Where can people find you?
Sure. So my website is teamfitwithme.com. My contact page, anybody can get in touch, set up a free call. Sarah F_fitwithme is my Instagram handle. And then Sarah F@teamfitwithme.com is my email. I am on every platform there is. I pride myself on my response times. If I can help anyone with anything, don't be shy reaching out.
Love it. Love it. Sarah, thank you again so much. Appreciate you guys. If you are listening, we appreciate you. Thank you for listening to the Trainer Revenue Multiplier podcast. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, rate, and share. If you found value, follow us at Trainer Revenue Multiplier on Instagram. And we look forward to hearing from you next episode.